Hi and welcome to my channel. Now today I'm going back to these Donner 2.0 hi-fi speakers. I think that's how you do it, something like that. Okay, now these retail at £99, £89, something like that. Fortunately I've got them a lot cheaper than that, just over £30 I paid for mine, but they're still about at that kind of price, £89 and £99, and it's quite easy for someone just to see them, go by the looks and go by the reviews and say, oh, let's get them for my daughter, let's get them for my son. And maybe unfortunately get them for myself because they're not very good. But I've stuck a couple of videos up and I've had a few suggestions. Now I'm passing these on to one of my subscribers, one of my viewers, who does a lot of tinkering around, reading the past comments he does, and that comes up with different ideas. So I haven't really got the time to muck about with these, and personally I don't think it's worth it. Obviously it could be a video for the channel, but I've got other things to do. I'm still decorating the house, so let's go over to him very shortly, hopefully. But I'm going to have a little bit of a tinker around because I've had a few suggestions. One of them was to change that yellow capacitor inside the crossover with another one, and lucky enough I've got one of them handy, so I'll be doing that exact value, so that's handy. Also, I'm actually going to change the crossover. Another idea I thought, well, maybe just change the crossover. This is a diamond-free crossover that I will be doing a little video about later on when I'm going to upgrade this. Put some different caps in it, change the resistor, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to come back to this later on in another video. But these are kind of spare that I'm going to kind of hot swap here and there in them diamond free. So I will be keeping hold of that. But so I'm going to have a little bit of a muck around and put it inside this as well, see if that helps it. So we're going to keep the same tweeter. We're going to change one of the capacitors on the board. Then we're going to change it for this, see if that makes any difference. And then hopefully down here, I've got, I think these are out of JPW speakers, little tweeters here. Someone has said to change the tweeters, then that tweeter in there is rubbish, and I probably ain't going to disagree with that because I should imagine it is pretty rubbish by the sounds of it. So hopefully I'm going to get these. They may not fit in there correctly, they may not fit in there perfectly, there may be a different ohmage to the ones in there, etc, etc, but let's see what kind of difference it makes. I mean, it can't make it much worse, surely. So that's it. So this is the setup. Just want to show you what's happening here. I'm going to change the camera angle in that. I'm going to record a little track as is, just on the one speaker. Then I'm going to start tinkering around, let's say change a few bits, do a few different alterations, and I'm going to see what difference that makes, and hopefully you're going to hear the difference. And this is how I've set it up, just a little demo here, not a stereo demo, I'm not going to do a stereo track. I will do it at the end, maybe when I've got it to sound a little bit better, I'll play that Madonna track back and see if you can hear the difference. Maybe, maybe not, depending what happens really. But yeah, so we just got it here, so every time I do another segment of music, the speaker's going to be exactly the same distance apart. This little unit's going to be exactly the same where it is. So that's how you're going to hear it. I'm not going to change the volume, not going to change anything else, just going to play the same track, just a little 20 or 30 seconds of that track, and see if there's any difference as we go along. So that's it really, so let's see what happens.
Hit the road without a dime. Will I ever look back at the roots that I left behind? When time stood still, took that second to realize I need more, understand I'll never leave you behind. One step forward, two steps back. This glass house can't hide my cracks. Looking around just
So there it is. I paid about a minute of that track so you get a bit more of a feel for it, but I try and keep it to a bit less because you don't want to be sitting there listening to that all day long. But this is the capacitor we're going to change. I've undone it. I've disconnected the tweet. I finally managed to get, these were quite hard. I don't know why, maybe I was a bit unlucky because it was only pushed on like a spade kind of clip, but I just couldn't get them off, but finally they did come off. So it's allowed a bit more room here. So I'm going to have to undo this, undo a few screws here just to get this capacitor out, and we're going to replace that with a new one. So let's, by the magic of video, do that. Okay, that's the new capacitor fitted. Hopefully you can see it. It's a picture on the screen. It's an LCAP Mondorf 4.7, slightly lower voltage, but I think we're going to be all right there. So we're going to put that back together and have a little listen.
hit the road without a doubt. two steps back.
Okay, so what I've done next, I was going to put the other crossover in this Wharfdale, but I didn't think it's worth it because I think that tweeter is probably letting it down there. So I took this JPW, I think it's come from JPW tweeter. I've took that out, I've took the old tweeter out, the tweeter that was in there, and I've managed to kind of bodge it in a way, I must be honest. It's just on there, it's in place, it's not going anywhere, but if you was to do it, you would have to put some maybe glue gun it round, something like that, all the way round, something like that, just hold it dead in place. But I've got one of the screws in there holding it. It's going to be okay for us to do a little test. So let's get that tweeter, there it is, it's inside there from this little JPW. We're going to plonk it in there and see what sound we get out of it, using the original crossover with that Mundorf capacitor. I've replaced this one here with that Mundorf, so it's not the original crossover, but it's the one with the Mundorf capacitor in. So let's give that a listen.
Back to back hit the road without a dime. Will I ever look back at the roots that I left behind? When time stood still, took that second to realize I need more, understand, I'll never leave you behind. One step forward, two steps back. This glass house can't hide my cracks. Looking around just makes me realize I can't go down like that. Coming from the highest.
Okay, after a little bit of moddering around in that, I'll show you what I've done. This is the old crossover. There's the new cap there, hopefully you can see that, just make sure. There's the new cap there, this is the old crossover, and this is what I'm on about. They kind of like put all that kind of like, what do you call this stuff, foam, this kind of foam all around the wires there. I haven't seen that before in a cheap pair of speakers, let's put it that way. I don't know if they do that in more expensive speakers, but yeah, it seems a bit weird, a bit over the top really. But anyway, I've took that out completely now. Here's the back of it. This is the plugs here, which are terminal, should I say, sorry, not plugs. I've used their same one. I've managed to solder it onto this Wharfdale diamond-free crossover. And this is old crossover, but you know the Wharfdales these come out are still sounding quite nice. I've got another set of Wharfdale diamond-frees now. Just sounds a tad better than the others. So I'm going to adjust this crossover, do that and put them in the new Wharfdales and see if it makes a difference after recapping this and changing that resistor. But I'll do that in another video, like I said. But anyway, so that's where we are. I've completely gutted the speaker there, as you can see at the moment, because I've had to get this in here, and I'll run the wires through and connect them up to the new tweeter, which is here. This is the new tweeter we're going to have in there. This is new. And we're still going to use the same old driver, obviously, the main driver. So let's put it all back together and do that sound test and see how that sounds.
Back to back hit the road without a dime. Will I ever look back at the roots that I left behind? When time stood still, took that second to realize I need more, understand, I'll never leave you behind. One step forward, two steps back. This glass house can't hide my cracks. Looking around just makes me realize I can't go down like that. Coming from the
Okay, so what did I get out of that? And hopefully you've heard your end as well through my little recording, through my little tests. I'll do one thing at a time. I'm just going to briefly touch on everything. I think you can hear the difference for yourself, but I think changing that capacitor helped. You know, it was a difference there. Didn't get rid of that ringiness or nothing like that. It was still in the top end, but it helped, just crispened up the notes just a little bit, just crisping things up, the top end up and that. So, you know, that's a, you know, worth doing, I suppose, if you've got this set of speakers, or any sets of speakers really, where you've got a cheap set of speakers or a pair of speakers with cheap crossovers. is to maybe upgrade all the capacitors in there, being old or new sets of speakers, and that will give you a difference. And on your set of speakers, it's probably going to be more noticeable on this set of speakers, because changing that capacitor with a crappy tweeter, should we say, is not going to suddenly make it sound really good. You know, it's not going to make much of a difference really. But on your set of speakers, I'm not saying you've got a crappy tweeter, but the difference may be more noticeable, because it's going to, you know, that tweeter's going to be able to bring it out even more. So that's that. Then the next thing we've done was actually change the tweeter for one of these, which I think it's a JPW. It's a 101114H. I'm almost certain, but I could be wrong. We changed it for that. I was advised maybe to change it for a silk dome, because this tweeter's crap apparently, so to speak. But you know, this is the only one I had to hand available really, and it was quite easy to take this out. This actually just turns and pulls out to fit it into here. It wasn't a tight fit, but you know, it weren't too bad. Done the job. I don't think this actual horn arrangement thing helps too much neither. This plastic horn thing, and it's kind of like you know, a gap from where the actual tweeter is until the end. It's just kind of horn arrangement. Maybe if that was more, you know, obviously done this for design, but you know, to make it appeal and look good, is maybe just have that tweeter, you know, dead level, dead flat like that, without this kind of horn arrangement. That'd probably help a little bit. But yeah, so we changed that tweeter. That helps it. Still had that ringness to it, still to a certain extent. But yeah, it made a difference. Just made it a little bit more clear, a little bit more detail again. We've plonked in this crossover, swapped the crossover out completely for this Wharfdale. Of course, it doesn't match this speaker. It's made for a Wharfdale impedances. Everything else is set up differently, obviously. And you know, you could go around changing different tweeters and different crossovers, you know, to your heart's content. Obviously, it's going to cost you money. And it's obviously not worth it. This pair of speakers maybe worth it if you had an higher end pair of speakers you weren't quite happy with or something like that. But this particular case, you're going to end up spending more on these, you know, on the speakers, and it's not going to improve it enough to justify that. But this made a difference, definitely. This is the main difference here. It kind of got rid of some of that ringiness to the top end. It sharpened up the bottom end as well. It weren't so woolly and so yeah, just so woolly and undefined, more defined, a bit more clarity to the bottom end. Overall, you know, it did change the overall tone of the speaker to a good extent. So that, you know, that was the best bet. That was the overall. I think as the stages went on from changing the capacitor, that steps up the ladder a little bit. Changing the tweeter steps you up another run, and changing this steps you up a couple more runs up the ladder. But we still had a long way to go to reach the top of that ladder. So there you go. So, you know, what do I take out of this? Obviously, it was kind of worth doing, but you don't want to spend too much. If you've got a set of these, maybe the thing would be just to, you know, just to make them sound a little bit better, just a tad better, is just to change this capacitor here. This would help definitely. You would hear a difference. It wouldn't be a vast difference, but for the outlay of £2 or £3, a little bit of time, that is the one I'd recommend definitely for this speaker. But other than that, still a pretty rubbishy pair of speakers that I can't wait to get rid of. Not to that extent, but I've got a subscriber, someone on the channel wanted to take these off of me and have a little muck around after seeing this video. Hopefully he's still up for that. I'm going to send them off to him. He's had more time than me. He likes tinkering around, doing all that kind of stuff, looking at the past reviews he's left for the channel, etc. Likes to do a lot of modifications, a lot of experimenting. So I'm absolutely fantastic, and I'm really pleased I'll be able to send these off to him. And hopefully he's going to have a little bit of you know, he's going to have a little bit of enjoyment mucking around with them, and hopefully he ain't going to pull his hair out like I have with a lot of stuff that I've had in the past and can't quite get right. But anyway, that's another story. Right, anyway, I'll say thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.